Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K YouTube live video, and I'm hoping that I'm out here and live today without any issues. The last few times I've come out and tried to go live, it's kind of given me a little moment. So it looks like it's live, so I'm good to go. And today we are just going to be working on a little Christmas card that I have made here for you. And it's really, it's got lots of things on it, but it's really simple. It's just a lot of layering. And fun stuff like that. So if you are joining today live, I appreciate you being here, and just feel free to say hello and let me know you're here. Hey Karen, thanks for hopping in today. And like I said, it's just gonna make a quick Christmas card with you today, and I'll let you get on your way for the weekend. So hopefully y'all are enjoying Friday, and well, thanks, Karen. I appreciate it. So I'm the card. I better get on with that. Hey, Denise, glad you're here as well. So thanks for joining today. So we have got a little card just made with some of the Heartwarming Hugs product suite, I think is what it's called. So I used the Wrapped in Christmas stamp set, which is one of my favorite ones. It's got some really good sentiments in it. And again, it's in the mini catalog, which is now live from Stampin' Up. And I use the Noel as well on the inside, and we're also going to use the Let the Joy of the Season Fill Your Heart. So, hey, Sherry, thanks for hopping in today. I appreciate you being here. So this is the stamp set that we used. And then I used the Heartwarming Hugs Designer Series paper on the background, as well as some of the brushed metallic cardstock and a bunch of dies, which I didn't really realize until I was pulling everything out. I'm like, oh, there's kind of a lot of die cuts on this. So, all right, so let me show you a few things that I used here. And hey, Helen, thanks for joining today. From Sydney, yay. I don't have the nice accent like you guys do. I'm all jealous of that. I heard it quite a bit over the onstage weekend. Quite a few people spoke that had the Australian accent. It's such a cool thing to listen to. So I'm sure you guys are like, what? Anyway, but so I used one of the stitched rectangle dies. Hey, Barbara, thanks for joining today. And I cut this panel with it and actually cut it apart and kind of slid the pieces apart a little bit for the card front, and I'll show you how I did that in a second. So I used this one, and then I used this one of the stitched shapes rectangles to cut the sentiment out. So use that one twice on the card front, and then I use the very cool kind of, I don't know, I call it flourishy, but flourish is kind of a general term to me. I don't know, there's probably some official term for it, but the kind of Flourish Stars die to cut the foil paper, or for the brushed metallic cardstock. So I use that on the background here. And then the final set of dies, I swear. I used the Stitched Nested Labels die set, and I actually used this one, which is the largest of the dies, to cut the little piece here, and then I just chopped the edge off straight. So pretty quick and easy, just a few die cuts running it through the machine, and that's all there was to it. One thing that I did not do, hey Jeannie, thanks for joining today, on this card that I actually am going to change because I thought it sort of needed, once I get it all put together, I'm like, you know, I think it needs a little something on the background. So I've got an embossed background to add to the card that we're going to be making today. So hey Patricia, glad that you are here as well. All right, so I've got my card over here. The embossing folder that I'm using is actually going to be the subtle embossing folder, and it's the 3D embossing folder. So hopefully, I know it's kind of hard to see the texture on video, but trust me, it is. It's a nice texture on it. So I'm going to be using that for the background today. And figured we'd give that a try, and you can let me know whether you like it or you don't like it. Oh, excuse me. All of a sudden, of course, I get a tickle in my throat the minute I start talking. Hey, Amy, glad you are here, and glad you caught me live, too. Couple things, or well, one thing before we get going. Curvy Celebrations. If you don't have it yet, you need to get it. At least I think so. This is a new stamp set bundle, and a whole large bundle, almost a product suite, but not quite, that Stampin' Up! Is offering. It's an early release product from the upcoming mini catalog, the January to June 2021 mini catalog. So the item that is going to be in the new catalog is the Quite Curvy bundle, which has got your stamp set, the Quite Curvy stamp set, and the Curvy dies. So these are bundled together. Right now you can get them for $41.25. And in the new catalog, you will be able to get them individually, but for right now, the only way you can get them is in the bundle. Hey, Jerry, glad you're here today. But Stampin' Up! Has some exclusive items that coordinate with the die set here that are available only while supplies last, and only until January 4th. So if the supplies last through January 4th, this will be available for that long. If not, it'll go away. So just so you know, the classic Christmas 6x6 designer series paper, and then we've got the Curvy Christmas stamp set. Again, the dies coordinate, and it's the curves on the dies that coordinate. So none of the other pieces do, because I had a customer ask me about that. But it's the curvy pieces of the dies. But it's a really cool die set and really cool stamp set. And again, it's cute. That's, you know, again, it's a fun one to play with. I've done a couple videos with it, as well as with the designer paper. And again, these two items are only available until January 4th. The Quite Curvy bundle, the birds and the dies, will actually be available on past up until the end of June. But what's really, really cool is Stampin' Up! Has done a large bundle with all of this stuff. So you get the 2 stamp sets, the die set, and the designer series paper, and you save 10% on that if you purchase the Quite Curvy variety bundle, which is nice because Stampin' Up! Usually doesn't bundle all the stuff together and give a discount on it. So that's a nice little extra bonus if you order everything. And on top of that, I'm offering some exclusive tutorials if you order it from me. We've got a set of 5 tutorials with videos, and if you're interested in getting those, you can order either the Quite Curvy stamp set bundle or the Quite Curvy variety bundle, and you'll get 5 exclusive tutorials with videos, and they're also written tutorials from me as a little bonus gift for ordering that. So let me know if you have questions on it. The details are posted on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com. Okay. Finally, on with the card. For my sample card, I actually had made it in my usual kind of tent fold look to it. Of course, I cut the card base a little differently just to show you that you can do it either way. This is an 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4 piece of cardstock. This cardstock is 4 1/4 by 11 scored at 5.5. But again, you end up with the same exact card, just a little different way that it folds. So I went ahead and pre-embossed, and again, I know you probably can't see much of it on the video. I'll try to hold it still for a second. Pre-embossed a piece of Pear Pizzazz, which I totally forgot to say. Pear Pizzazz cardstock is what I've used for the card base, as well as the extra panel on the card front. And we're going to use a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue to adhere the two together. Generally, when I'm doing a full card front like this, I use the liquid glue, which I normally don't use because I find it kind of messy. For me, I'm kind of a glue mess, and then end up with things stuck to everything. And when I try to use it for everything, so but it does give me a little bit of wiggle room, like I needed right there, to make sure that my card front is on straight before it's stuck down forever and ever with the liquid glue. So there we go. I've got the card front put on, and again, just did a little embossing on it ahead of time. Then we've got some layering to do. Again, this is the Heartwarming Hugs Designer Series paper, which is available in the mini catalog right now. Hey, Mary, welcome from Southwest Minnesota. You probably aren't freezing up there yet. I know my parents in Iowa got a bunch of snow, so I don't know if your area also got it, or if it's just their area in Iowa. It sounded like they were kind of buried under a little snow. We've had some rain here in New Jersey, but thankfully no snow yet. So. All right, the designer series paper is cut to 3 5/8 by 3 5/8, so it's a square. And then I've got a square of Mossy Meadow cardstock that should be cut to 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And again, all the measurements will be out on my blog tomorrow, so in case I say anything wrong, which I frequently do when I'm on here live, the correct information will be posted on my blog, and I will link up the blog post in the details of this video, so you'll be able to find the right information if I say anything that sounds totally crazy, which I definitely could. All right, and all I have done is sort of looked, engaged, and tried to center top to bottom and side to side on it, which, you know, again, this is square and this is rectangle, so it's not exactly centered, but try to get it as close as possible. The next layer up, I went ahead, I had some snow, but not too much. Oh, good. In the 20s this morning. Woo, burr. That does not sound pleasant at all. I don't know exactly how cold it is here right now, but it's definitely not in the 20s. This is a piece of Heartwarming Hugs Designer Series paper that I have pre-cut with the 4th largest, which I can pull it out again, of the stitched rectangle dies. So it's this one. And I pre-cut it, and obviously on the card front, I wanted it to be a little longer. It was for a particular sketch challenge that needed a longer rectangle on it. So I die cut the paper, and then just took out my Stampin' trimmer, and it doesn't need to be like super neatly cut or any exact precise measurement or anything like that, but I just took about 1 inch off the bottom and just chopped it into 2 pieces. And it is magically going to be hidden underneath the sentiment, so you'll never know that the paper was chopped apart in the middle. So just going to adhere that down with some Stampin' Seal to the card front, hopefully, and not to my fingers, which sometimes happens. And again, I'm just going to put this up, try to center it side to side, and then put it up closer to the top, obviously, than the bottom. So then the bottom. Come on, Amy. Words are difficult today. It's Friday, I guess. And it's Friday the 13th, so I guess I shouldn't be. So far, so good. Nothing too crazy has happened here, so hopefully you all are the same way. All right, so I've adhered the bottom that I chopped off here just down to the bottom of my cardstock panel and left a little gap in the middle, and we're going to cover that all up with designer paper and sentiment so nobody's ever going to know that it's there. So I've got another piece of the Heartwarming Hugs Designer Series paper that I have pre-cut with the stitched nested labels die, and I used the largest one of those again. And I just die cut it like you normally would, and then I took about, from the point in, it's about 1.5 inches, and just chopped it right off the edge so that I had a straight edge for adhering it to the card front. You can use a little Stampin' Seal to adhere it down here as well. Hopefully y'all are having an okay Friday, nothing too crazy. Like I said, it's, you know, Friday the 13th. We always have to kind of worry a little bit, although not really. I don't really get too into that, but it's one of those things that when crazy things happen, then I'm like, oh yeah, it's Friday the 13th, that's why. So, all right. The little Flourish Star die cut from the Stitch Stars dies, I cut from brushed metallic cardstock. Goodness, again, words are hard today. So I went ahead and pre-cut this so you didn't have to sit and watch me chop out a million things with the die cutting machine. But I'm just going to place it here over the card front. And again, knowing that my sentiment is going to generally go in this area, I'm going to take a little bit of Stampin' Seal and I'm just going to use that to adhere this in place. And my sentiment is going to be adhered over the top of it again, so there's going to be even more adhesive on it in just a second. But I just generally wanted it to stay. And the Stampin' Seal is super, super sticky, so that would even hold it in place if you didn't mind that it looked a little wonky with the adhesive sticking out. Nobody wants to see that. But again, we're going to be covering it up with the sentiment. So I have pre-stamped the sentiment. Again, the sentiment is from the the Wrapped in Christmas stamp set. And I used the Noel, and I stamped it in Mossy Meadow ink on a piece of Whisper White cardstock. And I used one of the stitched rectangle dies to cut it out. And I went ahead and colored a couple of these in because, again, I know watching me color, particularly in a solid color, is like watching paint dry on the wall, so I didn't figure you needed to watch all of it being colored in. But I've got the dark Real Red Stampin' Blends marker, and I'm just simply going to fill in. Nothing super difficult about this. There's really no blending or shading. Just wanted it basically to fill in without being kind of the streaky look that the Stampin' Blends markers, or I'm sorry, the Stampin' Write markers, the alcohol. Again, words are hard today. So the regular water-based markers is what I'm trying to say. The Stampin' Write markers often leave streaks and can actually kind of reactivate the ink that you've stamped and cause a little bit of smearing and that sort of thing, where the alcohol markers do not. It's sort of the opposites don't attract type of thing. So you can use Stampin' Blends with our regular inks, which is kind of cool. And you can also use them with Tuxedo Black Memento ink, which is technically designed to be used with Stampin' Blends and alcohol-based markers. But it's kind of cool that they also work with our regular inks that we have, our color family inks. So very nice. All right. So that's it. Nothing super difficult for coloring. So definitely, you know, simple, very easy. A little die cutting of the sentiment. Hey, Nancy, thanks for hopping in. And then we've got some Stampin' Dimensionals here, and we are just going to adhere this onto the card front with some Stampin' Dimensionals, or my half Stampin' Dimensionals, because I chopped them in half instead of doing whole ones. And I know it's always controversial, depending on whether you love it or you hate it, because it's usually one way or the other. Picking these off here a second, and then we'll stick that on the card front, and we've got a little bit of embellishing to do, and the card front's going to be all done. So again, so I know that I've got my chop in the paper here, so I want to make sure that's covered, and my adhesive over here, and I want to make sure that is covered. So I'm going to take my sentiment and again with the sketch that I was using. The sentiment was kind of scooted over to the one side. So I'm going to take that and adhere it down, making sure that it's straight with the edge. One other nice thing with the paper that has lines on it, that kind of helps you also to line things up a little bit straighter. And then using the Stampin' dimensionals to adhere down, which is also going to help my die cut stick down, but to adhere the sentiment as well. Next thing up is I've got some red rhinestone basic jewels, and I'm just going to stick a couple of those here around on the card front. One here next to the sentiment, which I don't love the placement of that. There we go. That one's a little better. And then I'm going to put one right up here, kind of tuck it up next to the die cut, and then one sort of off here by itself, giving you the little kind of triangle effect. So that is all for the card front. So super simple. Again, this one, hopefully you can see it on the lighting. I know it's a little difficult to see. So this one I've got the embossing on it since it is super subtle, and this one I do not. So I don't know if holding them side by side, if you can see any difference in them. I can definitely see it here in person, but showing them on screen, I know sometimes the embossing, particularly the really subtle embossing, doesn't show up very well in the video. So, but I think it adds kind of a nice little bit of texture, and so it's just something a little different on the card front. All right, on the inside of the card, I'm going to keep it pretty simple as well, and I've got the sentiment from the Wrapped in Christmas stamp set and Mossy Meadow ink that we're going to be using to, oh, you like the embossing? Good, good, I'm glad. Oh, thanks, Mary, I appreciate that. Glad that you like the card too. So it was fun to put together. It was one of those sketches where they're like, when I initially looked at it, it looked like there were about 50 million layers on it. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. That's a lot more layers than I normally do, but it came together pretty easily, actually. All right, so stamp that in Mossy Meadow ink, and then you like the colors. Yeah, this designer paper makes it so easy. Stampin' Up! Always puts the best colors together, and things that I would never think of for color combinations they put together, and I'm like, you know, it really works. So, all right, gonna add a little strip of the designer series paper. This is about 5/8 of an inch wide, and it's, I don't know, probably 6 inches or so long, but I'm just going to take my snips and chop off the edge of it. I like to leave it a little bit longer just because it gives me kind of a little bit of a lever to be able to help me to get it adhered on straight, hopefully. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, and then we're going to use a little Stampin' Seal to put this on the inside of the card base. And we are going to be all done with the card. See, I told you it'd be quick today. As long as the words can come out of my mouth the right way, which I certainly am struggling with. So, all right, going to adhere that to the inside of the card, and that's all there is to the inside. And then I'm going to take it and actually going to use my bone folder on the back of it since it's embossed on the front. I generally try to do a little bit of the, you know, a good solid crease on the back so I don't smash the embossing on the card front. And that is all. So, that's it for the card today. So I appreciate y'all being here. Oh, you love the sketch and can't wait to try it. Yeah, it's a good one. So it's Global Design Project. So definitely go take a peek at it. So I appreciate you all being here. Thanks for spending part of your day on Friday with me. I hope that y'all have a fantastic weekend. I will plan to be back on my YouTube channel live next week, Friday, around 2 o'clock Eastern time. And then I'll be back on YouTube live, or I'm sorry, on Facebook Live around 2 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday. So I will plan to see you all then. Have a good rest of your weekend. Again, the details will be posted on my blog tomorrow, so you can take a peek at it if you come back and check out the video. So thanks again for joining, and we will chat with you all soon.